comes to this kind of work, instant results can happen, right? It takes 10 years to create overnight success. And in this world, in this economy, in this day-to-day place, so often we don't think about the long-term implications of the work we did yesterday. And we're going to talk about things like quantum leaps, we're going to talk about clarity, we're going to talk about confidence, we're going to talk about conviction. But what today can be is a day where you can change the trajectory of your life. It ultimately starts by changing your thinking to change your life. And that's essentially what we're going to look at. And have you ever wondered if it's actually possible to double your business in a year? Have you actually thought of it? Do you ever want to? Like, do you wish that you could just get unstuck from some of the same things, from some of the same recurring patterns that are happening over and over and over again? And really look at how you can stop settling and start living a more rich and fulfilling life, have more income, make more impact, to live the life and have the business that you actually desire. So often we settle, and you can do this without having to get trapped in overwhelm, without having to feel like you're stressed watching time pass you by, and you can do it without feeling like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. But how do you do that? So one of the things that we've been working with our clients on is this abundance system. And it's a blend of structure and flow. And it really is an integration of your life and business. And it ultimately starts with your mindset. You have a conscious mind. I don't have a slide for this. But you have a conscious mind and you have an unconscious mind. We call the conscious mind your head. We call the unconscious mind your heart. And when you start working with the power of the unconscious mind and setting the conscious mind in a new direction, you actually amplify your power in a huge, huge way. Because consciously, your conscious mind is responsible for about 5% of your results. Your unconscious mind is responsible for 95%. And when you decide to hit the reset button, which is my intention for you today, you can start tapping into the possibilities of what could be. And you can do this even if you're filled with self-doubt, maybe hiding behind the mask of perfection, even if you feel trapped in obligations to others, and even if you feel like you're doing everything for everyone. Who's ever felt like I do a lot for everyone else and I forgot about myself? Yeah, okay. So especially if you're a parent, especially if you have responsibilities, especially if you have a team. So who am I? Tammy introduced me a little bit. I'll be quick with this, but I am an abundance mentor. I'm a speaker, author, and I am author of Stop Procrastinating Your Life Away. If you'd like a copy, we have some available here. And, okay. I don't want to let the mic go. Tammy wanted to buy a book, but I'd like to gift her one just while we're here.
Oh, thank you so much.
Tammy.
Thank you. Sorry, my other camera ran out of charge, so thank you so much. It's beautiful. I will definitely...
I want Tammy to have a gift. But author of Stop Procrastinating Your Life Away, this is something that is not about procrastination. It really is about you. And it's about you living your most rich and fulfilling life. So often, we settle for the life we think we've been given and not the life that we deserve or that we desire. Also, I have a beautiful community of like-minded professionals where we grow, where we stretch, and we create the magic that we want in our lives. So when I first got started, things were very different. I had a history of abuse, a really major poverty mindset, and I used to keep knocking myself down, waiting to be rescued. And I went searching. So I went searching to seminars, I worked with all kinds of coaches, I worked with all kinds of spiritual guides. You name it, I've probably done it. I've invested over $300,000 into my own personal growth and development. And at one point, I remember sitting there going, this has been really awesome. And I've got everything I want. I checked all the boxes in my life. I had the house, I had the car, I had the business, I had the kid. Finally, that one took a while, but he's sitting back there taking notes. So Luke Yan, do you want to wave? Yeah, he's happy to sell you books too if you'd like. But I had everything I wanted except what I really wanted. And sometimes we get to that point where we think we have what we thought we wanted, but it's not what you need. And that really happened until I met some key mentors, one of those being Mr. Bob Proctor. Who's heard of Bob Proctor? Yay, okay, beautiful. So Bob was brilliant. He was able to take these complex spiritual concepts and make them accessible for people. He'd be the guy that said, tell me what you want, I'll show you how to get it. I'll show you how to double your income. I'll show you how to do anything you want, if you want to do it. And he really made things that were possible for others possible for me. After studying with piles of people, within a week of working with him, he absolutely started shifting my world to the point where things were possible for me, not just others. And I actually believed it. Before, I would pretend to believe it. Who's ever pretended to believe something, but you really don't inside? And you're lying to yourself and you're cheating. Yeah. You're like, I'm amazing. No, you're not. And you say these things to try to motivate yourself and pump yourself up, but you're lying to yourself. And by really going deep within, things started to change. I also started doing training in neuro-linguistic programming and hypnotherapy. So I became a consultant for Bob Proctor after being a student with him, so I got to train his materials. But I also found the world of NLP and hypnosis, which is all about the unconscious mind and how it worked. And I loved how we brought the science and the neuroscience of things into this, because what it did was help me get more predictable results for my clients. And it brought a new language to things. So we really look at blending science and psychology. But what it also did is help me hold myself to my highest standards. And sometimes we get to these points where we say something but don't really do it. Right? There's a difference between walking your talk and talking your talk. And it really got me to be honest. And I think this honesty, this truth, which we'll be talking about in just a minute, is absolutely critical. Also, third thing was really doing the work, not pretending to do the work. Not pretending, right? That if you look at an average work day of a regular entrepreneur, or a regular person, not necessarily an entrepreneur, you work about 2.35 hours out of an 8-hour workday. There's a lot of inefficiency, and you might be going through the motions of work, but are you actually doing useful work? And when you start getting real, you can get a lot further, a lot faster. But it starts with you. And if you aren't conditioning yourself, if you aren't conditioning your mind, if you aren't conditioning your heart to move forward with authenticity, integrity, and grace, you're just on autopilot. And it's not fulfilling. So I've had a lot of huge wins in my life. I've performed on stages internationally and nationally. I had the wedding of my dreams in the Carpathian Mountains of Ukraine. So we had a beautiful video that's been aired all over television and shared with over 135,000 people. We transform our lives with the work we do every day. I left my corporate job at the peak of my career. I published a book, I speak on stages. But today isn't about me. I just wanted to share a little bit about my history so you can maybe perhaps relate to some of it, but this really is about you and how you can double your business this year. So with the abundance system, there are 3 components that we're going to look at, these 3 secrets. When you start tapping into them, clarity, confidence, and conviction, you can start creating results beyond your wildest dreams. And how do you know where your results are set? How do you even know where your mind is set? It's based on your results. So your thinking leads to feelings, leads to actions, and that ultimately leads to your results. Now, why do you need clarity? Clarity is the first step in doubling your business. The fact is, most people aren't clear, and clarity is power. So there's little worksheets on your tables if you want to take notes. I encourage you to take notes, because when you write something down, it's going to lock it into your mind at a deeper level. But clarity is power, because without clarity, you're going to keep roaming, going nowhere. It's kind of like being on a treadmill without having an objective to get anywhere. And so often, when you don't know, right? You've got a fork in a road, and you don't know if you're going to go right or left, or right or left, or right or left. Okay, put up your hands like this. We're going to do some exercise. Put up your hands, and then swing them one way, and the other way, and the one way, and the other way, and one way, and the other way. Keep going. Okay, if you do this all day, you could do it faster, you could do it slower, but if you kept doing this all day, you would be exhausted. You might have really good arms and like really defined shoulders by the end of the day, but you get really tired. And a lot of times we hesitate because we're not clear. We don't know how to make something as simple as a decision because we don't have the clarity we're looking for. So what do you need in order to have clarity? Okay? First thing is be true to yourself and think for yourself. You actually have to be truthful and honest with yourself. Now, information has never been more readily available than it has in history. We have these amazing things called cell phones, yet mental illness is at record highs. Health illnesses, right? Like physical health is deteriorating on a daily basis. If we're so smart, why are so many people struggling? And we just don't know what to do, and we don't know how to make the right decisions to move in that direction. We look for information everywhere else instead of within. We don't do the homework and ask the right questions because we don't know our truth. So, second thing, you need to have a clear picture with detail. And if you don't have a clear picture as to where you're going, if you don't have clear projections or clear goals in your business, if you want to double your business, you need to actually say, I've decided to double my business this year. And you can write that down on your page, because that's called a declaration. But if you want to double your business, you absolutely can, but you've got to make that decision. And then look at what it would look like to do that. So just hypothetically speaking, on your page, write down, if you did double your business, what would that be? It's your business times 2. Double the clients, double the revenue, what would that number actually be? You can consider it, you can do it, you don't have to. But most people won't even take that first step to see what that means. What would it actually look like for you if you had double the clients? Would you have to hire more team members? Would you have to have different infrastructure in place? And so you need a clear picture, otherwise you're never going to get it, because you won't know what you're aiming for. You're just going to do more of the same and get more of the same results. Next, you need a roadmap. You need to know where you are, where you're going, and the key steps to get there. And these steps, they have to be clear enough initially, but they also can't be so bogged down in detail that you get stuck. So this is Jules. She's one of our clients she was a brilliant time masseuse. She was really good at what she did. So a lot of people are really great at what they do, but she did not have what she called business sense. She's like, I don't have a business bone in my body. And when we started working together, she's like, I'd like to have confidence in business. I'd like to be a real business person. But she had no idea how much money she wanted to earn. She had no idea what she wanted to do with her clients. She didn't have a clue. So once she got clear on that, we created packages that helped her match her desires for business and her lifestyle, because a big part of it was her maintaining a certain lifestyle. So we created opportunities for her based on her clarity. And the first day she offered her packages, she sold 5 packages, and within 2 more months, she 5x'd her income. And I remember she's sitting on a call, she's like, I was having a really bad week. And I remember, Larissa, you say, don't always pay attention to your emotions when things are going wrong. Look for evidence. So I decided to look at my revenue, which that wasn't in her vocabulary. And she did, and she's like, when I realized I 5x'd my income, that was pretty cool. And magic can happen when you make a decision. But for her vision included lifestyle and business. So one of the things that we do for our community is we hold events. We hold free events every month or so. And we have a vision expansion experience where we help you create or elevate a vision that matches your ambition. So this is a free event if you're interested in joining us. The wait list is up on the registration page, but we'll have the full registration page open. But I invite you to join us. It's a free virtual event where it's a beautiful opportunity for you to, if you've never sat down and really thought about what you want, not just what you pretend you want, where you can actually create that. If you have a vision, guaranteed you've probably had some life changes, and if you haven't elevated it or changed it, your vision and the clarity you need is going to constantly have to evolve. It's never a stagnant thing, because they say when you're green, you're growing, when you're ripe, you're rotten, and you're either growing or you're dying. And so when you're in growth mode, you want to constantly grow and move ahead. So step 2 is confidence. So a lot of people want confidence, but they don't know how to get it. right? One of the main things, I go, what do you want? I want to be more confident. I hear a lot of people say that. Maybe it's with public speaking, maybe it's to take courageous action in their business, but a lot of people want confidence. Now, you gain confidence, and that's on your worksheets, you gain confidence by building competence. And so often, there's a lot of things you're competent in. You're competent at tying your shoes, you're competent at brushing your teeth, you're competent at doing your business now, but on day one, you probably weren't. And so the more experience you get, the more competence you get, the more confidence you can build. It doesn't always make things easy, but it makes things possible. So when it comes to building confidence, you must include the right success habits. Tammy mentioned something super simple. She mentioned things like prospecting. She mentioned things like following up. She mentioned things like booking connect calls and meetings. She mentioned things like offering your services, because how can people buy if you don't offer your services? Those are all different habits. They're simple habits, but 95% of people don't do them, and 95% of people don't do them consistently. So there are different habits required for different success paths, but you need to know what habits are absolutely critical for you. You've got to have resilience, because guaranteed you will fall off the wagon. Who's ever fallen off the wagon? And how long did it take you to get back up, right? The one thing you want to get really, really good at doing, I had a client that I started working with probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and her husband had just been diagnosed with early onset dementia. She had the beautiful vision of her life plan. She had the retirement of her dreams plan, and then her husband was diagnosed with this terminal condition. And she was just in this devastated state because her whole plan absolutely had to change. It took her about a year to rebuild her vision, but one of the biggest moments that I remember is when she said, it used to take me a month or 2 to feel like I could just get back up and do things, and to feel like I could keep going, like I could stop crying, like I could stop dwelling on my life. And after using the tools, she's like, I wasn't always happy, but I kept doing the work, I kept doing the work, I kept doing the work. And I remember she's like, I had a really bad day, but I was only out for 2 hours. I had a really bad day, I was only out for a couple days. And she really talked about the bounce back rate. That was huge for her. Why? Because she didn't have to stay down. She got back up and she could get going even though things weren't ideal. There's a lot of not ideal circumstances. It's easy to blame the economy, but you can go create your own economy, because the fact is, people are making great money in this economy. Not everyone is struggling, some people are, but you've got to be willing to change your approach and make that decision. And so how do you have the tools of resilience to keep going? And let your best self shine. This is really about knowing who you are, having a clear image of who you are born and destined to be. So you were born with the image of perfection. And then you learned all of these imperfections, who's ever had self-doubt? Little self-doubt, little limitation, and that's not your best self. When you start revealing and re-revealing your best self, you start to shine and build that confidence. So this is Kristen. When she started reconnecting with herself, she ended up, she had a lot of traumatic experiences in her past, and initially she came for us to just work through some of her childhood challenges. But she got truthful, and she ended up developing the courage and building up the courage to start a business. So she started her little business part-time. But I remember there was one day after she finally had the courage to pursue her business consistently, she was at work and she sat there and she's like, I just realized yesterday I earned 3 months' income in a single day. Why am I still working here, holding myself back? She took a courageous leap. She left her former job, her safety net, but over the couple years, she really started to take courageous leaps. She found a relationship of her dreams that she's still in. She found a house of her dreams. She found so many more beautiful opportunities, but it started with those courageous leaps. And 3 months' income was her new normal. So the last part is conviction. Okay, so secret number 3 that you need is conviction. This is really about you having strong faith and a deep-rooted belief system. Because without conviction, You're not connected to something or someone bigger than yourself. And it's important that you really stand for something beyond your greater good. So when it comes to conviction, you must have standards of excellence. And these standards, when you have standards, it's kind of like a playbook. It's like a playbook, your rule book of life. And when you hold yourself to those standards, what happens is it's easy to make decisions. It's easy to say, no, I'm not eating that chocolate cake. No, I'm not eating the pizza. Because you have that standard and you uphold it. You say, yes, I am going to go do the prospecting. Yes, I'm going to listen to Tammy and do what she says. Because I know she's right, but I'm actually going to do it instead of cheating. And so you need to know what your standards are. They're different for each and every one of you. And if that's not your thing, don't try to force it. Just be like, I choose not to. And don't lie to yourself. Be fueled by purpose. Purpose gets you out of the bed in the morning. Like, why do you actually do what you do? How often do you think about, why did I choose to get up? Why do I give a shit about going to work? Why do I care? Why do I want to help people? Why do I want to do anything with my clients? You want to know that, because there is some juice, there is motivation, and you start to have compelling reasons to move forward. And ultimately, this paves the way for quantum leaps. They say it takes 10 years to create overnight success. Well, that overnight success happens in a heartbeat. But these quantum leaps are leaps beyond what you can consciously imagine. These are illogical jumps and leaps in your performance and in your behavior. But they happen because you have the clarity, you have the confidence, and you're moving forward with conviction. So Joanna, she used to work for a dental office, and she used to sell a high-end program for them, and for a reconstruction. And I remember one day she and I had a lunchtime conversation, and the text in the morning was great. I'm really looking forward to it. But by noon, she was total hot mess. Total hot mess. We had a little 15-minute conversation planned, but I reminded her of two things. I reminded her of her purpose. I reminded her of her standards. And she calmed down by the end of our call. That afternoon, before end of day, around 4 o'clock, a few hours later, she texted me and she's like, Larissa, I just made 6 sales in a day. She lifted her mood. She's like, this is not typical. She doesn't make 6 sales in a day. She doesn't usually make six sales in a week. But she was reminded of why she was doing what she did. And she held herself to her standards and got to work. And these things are possible when you move forward in that spirit. So how many of you are more confident that you're willing to grow your business this year, that you can grow your business this year? Good. So most people say, yeah, I can do it. But they get an F on their report card. Why? Because you didn't fill out the sheet and you're going to leave it on the table. I won't take it personally. Or you did fill out the sheet and you're going to stuff it in your bag and forget all about it. Or maybe you'll file it in a binder and stick it on a shelf and never look at it again. And never do anything about it. It's called the paradigm of postponement. And stop procrastinating your life away. Most people just don't get around to it. So what's the block? You don't get your goals. You get your musts. Is it a must for you to double your business this year? Is it a must for you to have work-life balance? Is it a must for you to do something courageous and to live the life that you actually want? Not the one that you, not the hand of cards that you've been dealt with? That might not be the right way to say that. But is it a must for you? And if you want to learn how the abundance system is showing up in your life, what I'd like to do is offer you an opportunity, right, to change that. Because how long have you been thinking about growing your business, thinking about earning more money? We were just talking, money doesn't buy happiness, but money buys access. And when you are shopping at the right mall, it's a lot more pleasurable. So what really stops you? It's distractions, it's messes, it's mental clutter, it's self-doubt. But you've ultimately got to train for your business like an athlete trains for their sport. And it doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be hard. It can be easy and it can be fun. Dr. Jordana said, Larissa's commitment to excellence while living life with purpose and joy makes her a mentor and guide people want to follow. In her first month working with me, she was more productive than she had been the entire previous year. Why? Because she got focused and she started having fun. So what I'd love to offer you is a complimentary life and business audit. On the back of the sheets, there's a QR code where you can book that for yourself. And what we'll do is we're going to talk about, we're going to look at where you are, where you want to be, and what some of the key steps are that you need to take in order to make the biggest income or the biggest impact in the fastest way. So that is a gift that I'd love to offer you. And you could keep doing the same old thing and get the same results, or you can try something new. So I'm inviting you and offering you the opportunity to do that. If you are interested in purchasing my book, we've got some copies over here. Lukian will be manning the table. He's very excited. So come up, chat with us, and both Megan and I, Megan's here with us as well. Megan, she's in the back, so maybe you can wave. So she's amazing. She helps us. She saves my life all the time. She's definitely a huge asset to Team Abundance. So thank you for being here.